Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to play Japan. I hadn't played Japan in quite a while, but I took the chance with the Army Against Tyranny update to come back, update my previous guide, and I'm actually very excited to share the results with you guys, because we are going to make Japan more powerful than ever. I was actually very surprised to see that we got to World War II even more powerful than we got to World War II with Germany, Italy, and the Soviet Union. In fact, I plan to continue this run, in the sense that today's video will finish with World War II, the guide will end there. But I plan to continue the game, even possibly going for a full world conquest, depending on how things go. And if you're interested in it, of course. I do want to get to the late game in at least one of my runs, in order to share with you some of the more advanced designs. So I think this will be the right chance. That being said, we should start right away because this is quite a long guide. There are a lot of things to talk about. Let me just add one more thing before we start. This is a single player only guide because we're going to invade Siam and then we're going to invade the Netherlands, which is unlikely to be allowed in multiplayer games. So keep that in mind. This is a single player game. We're going to play on regular difficulty. Let's start. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the initial setup. We are going for full infrastructures and civilian factories in Koshinetsu, and then full infrastructures and military factories in Tokai and Kansai. And we want the production to be 6 dedicated to infantry equipment, 4 to support equipment, 4 to towed artillery, and 1 to trains. We're now going to split all of our divisions into several armies. I will show you the completed setup after it's done. I'm also going to gather the entire navy in Nagasaki. I send all planes to Taiwan, and I do the same thing. I train them once they are there. We're also going to recruit another 9 infantry divisions. And as many marines as we can. I think it's possibly only 3 marines at this point of the game. We're going to change the occupation law to local police force. We are happy with the cavalry there. In terms of trade, we are not going to import steel, but we are going to stop importing oil. We also want to create an agency right away. Now, this is very important. We want to keep upgrading the agency until we get our second spy. So we need 5 upgrades. I will show you later which upgrades I favor, but it's up to you in the end, as long as we get 2 spies. Quickly show you how I split my armies. For now, I assigned them a defensive line back in Japan, just so that they all come back here. But this first army of 15 is what we are going to use for our naval invasion of Siam later on. It has all of the good infantry divisions. It has the 2 trucks and the marine, and we're also going to start training them. Actually, we can do it directly by shift-clicking here on the Marshal. The Marshal doesn't matter that much, but I prefer the one that has higher supply consumption, higher logistics, let's say, for the main army. The second main army is the best general we have available, this guy, with 3 infantry divisions. He's going to Spain as a volunteer as soon as that's an option for us. The second theater is with our defensive armies, so we have this less upgraded army, the second less upgraded army, which will eventually update to have 24 divisions, the cavalry, and the tanks, which we're not going to use much at all. For now, they just go back to Japan and they all train as well. Now, we also want to ask from the very beginning of the game docking rights to Italy and to Germany. Now, with this, our initial setup is basically done. The only thing to do is, once the navy gathers in Nagasaki, we want to train it. Okay, we got the agency. We want to keep upgrading it. As I said, we need a total of 5 upgrades. What I suggest doing is I suggest getting all of these ones, and then maybe 1 anti-partisan. But it's entirely up to you if you prefer something else. Okay, we got the political power for prioritized steel for guns. Let's get it. At the same time, we're also going to increase the production of guns up to 15 factories. Okay, we got 40 political power, so we are going to start justifying on Siam. At the same time, we're also going to assign our first spy. We're going to start spying on Beijing in China. We're also going to pick the first doctrine for Marines, which we unlocked by training our navy. We're going to add 1 more marine to our recruitment. And we're going to prepare the invasion of Siam. For that, we need to stop this defensive line here. And we are going to select our first army. And we are going to start preparing a naval invasion from Nagasaki. I'm going to send 5 divisions from Nagasaki to Bangkok. I'm going to send 3 divisions to this region here, another 3 here, 2 of them to this other city here, which will give us more victory points, and the last 2, the trucks, we're going to send them here. And this is the naval invasion prepared. Okay, we got the civil war in Spain, which means we can start sending volunteers, farm some army experience, and especially air experience. And don't forget to send air volunteers, that's very important. Feel free to manage the volunteers to Spain differently. I just like to assign them an offensive line and just say to attack, and I forget about them. But you can farm general trades and other stuff if you do it more carefully, if you micromanage them a little bit. Now, as soon as we get the second spy... Oh, nice, we got a seducer. We are going to change them from a build internetwork to quiet internetwork in China. We're also going to start preparing the first collaboration government in China. Make sure to click on the automatically repeat option here so that you get a notification when this is done. Otherwise, it's very easy to miss it. At 150 political power, we're going to pick the silent workhorse. Okay, we got our claim on Siam, and let's go. By the way, I changed slightly the naming for some of the researches. When I say weapons up, what I mean is this stuff here. And when I say infantry equipment up, what I mean is this stuff down here. Now, as we start the invasion of Siam, we should also already have enough political power to justify on the Netherlands. We're going to do it right away. When you get 3 dockyards, I suggest you start making some convoys. I usually make 6 and then I assign 2 factories to the other boats remaining. Now, when your trucks get down to Siam, what I suggest doing is you start sending them up straight to Chiang Mai while you try to encircle the enemy troops in Bangkok. In the peace conference, what I suggest doing is you puppet them. You take war reparations, you take resource rights, and you also take their very small navy. We're going to send volunteers back to Spain right away. We can now send 4 divisions, so I suggest you do so. And of course, send your air volunteers as well. Now, we're also going to replace the trucks we had in the army of 15 with 2 regular infantry divisions. And we're going to start planning the invasion of the Netherlands from Bangkok. In terms of infantry equipment MIO, I suggest you use this priority. I unlock this one first, and then you can check the numbers here to see which other ones I prioritized and in what order. Now, we should also have enough air experience to start making the new fighters and CAS. This is quite interesting because with Japan, I'm going to show you a couple of different designs compared to the ones we used before. And that's because with Japan we care about range. So for what concerns the F1 fighters, we're going to use this design with the extra fuel tanks. We're also going to add the light turret to mitigate a little bit the air defense loss from the extra fuel tanks, also for the extra air attack. So this is our F1 design, and this is what we are going to use in terms of CAS. So this is the CAS 1 design with the range. We're also going to start producing them. So in terms of production, we're going to make the following adjustments. We reduce the production of guns to 10, and we bring the production of F1 to 6. We prepare the production of C1, 3 factories, and trucks, also 3 factories. From now on, we also want to start adjusting trade. We can do it initially from our puppet. Later on, I suggest you do it from the Soviet Union. Now, the most important thing to do in order to invade the Netherlands is to prepare our fleet properly. This is a bit of a tricky part of the guide, so I will try to show it in detail. Now, the easiest way I found to do this, but if you have any suggestions on doing it better or more easily, feel free to share them with me, is you go here, you select your fleet, and then you start with the submarines, and you select all submarines. And we are going to assign all submarines to Bangkok. Then we are going to select all destroyers. And we are going to send them to this harbor here in Somalia, Italian Somalia. Then we are going to select our light cruisers. And we're going to send them here. Then we are going to select all heavy cruisers. And we are going to send them here in Sardinia. And finally, the remaining part of our fleet with battle cruisers and battleships and carriers, we are going to send them here in Germany. If you position the fleet correctly, you should be able to get the naval superiority everywhere you need to start a naval invasion of the Netherlands. Meanwhile, at 50 political power, we are going to pick the Army Offense Specialist. For what concerns the artillery MIO, I suggest this priority that you can see here. As soon as we get to 30 political power, we are going to pick the Prioritize Army Aircraft Construction. We should also have enough army experience for the Professional Officer Corps. We want to pick this as soon as possible. And now we can actually prepare the invasion of the Netherlands. I'm going to send 5 divisions here. We start from Bangkok, of course. We send another 5 here. We send 3 of them here, and the last 2 here. Okay, we are going to start spying on China again as soon as possible. Okay, we got our claim on the Netherlands, which means we can start our naval invasion. This is a very tricky one, as I said, so I really recommend you make a save at this point if you can, if you're not playing Iron Mod. Clear war to the Netherlands. And let's see if the positioning of our fleet was correct. If it was correct, we should be able to get the Green Sea everywhere. Don't forget about the agency. Okay, everything seems fine. Let's start our naval invasion. It started. That's good news already. We should also be able to prepare the second collaboration government in China. So let's do that. At 150 political power, we want to pick the war industrialist. We also want to increase the production of artillery and support equipment to 5. And we want to start building infrastructures, full infrastructures, and then air bases up to 5 here at the border with China. And then 3 forts in all of these 3 bordering provinces. Only these ones, because we are not going to call our vassals into the war. Now that our naval invasion is on its way, we're also going to recall all of the destroyers. And we're going to send them back to the region of Japan. We are going to use them to protect trade around Japan. Okay, we can assign our destroyers to convoy escort in the area of Japan. Alright, now we need to pay some attention to our invasion of the Netherlands. And let's see how it goes. Now, you should always be able to disembark with these 2 units here. And you can try to send 1 to attack here and 1 around them. See if you can encircle them. And then I also suggest you use the force attack command at this point. From here, we just want to keep going down. Ideally, we want to go and get Amsterdam and encircle all of the divisions that they have here. Also, at this point, you should be able to pick Institute Indiscriminate Conscription. It's 30 political power. I suggest you do it because we are running very low on manpower at the moment. Now, despite the lack of manpower, at this point we're also going to use our army experience to adjust our defensive template. We're going to bring it to a combat width of 10, and we're going to give them some engineer company. I will also change the name to Def. And we want to recruit 18 defensive divisions, and then as many marines as possible. I believe it's only 1. Okay, everything seems fine with the Netherlands. We got it. Fairly fast, no problems here. Now, the peace conference with the Netherlands is a bit tricky. I showed this before in another guide, but be careful here. The first thing you want to do is you want to puppet them, all of them, including the Dutch East Indies, and then you want to get the resource rights in the Netherlands and especially in the Dutch East Indies. This one with submit demands. After this, we try to get the war reparations as well in the Netherlands, in the Dutch East Indies. And then lastly, we try to get the navy. We may not have enough for the whole navy, so we just get 1 of the 2. But you want to puppet them and to get resource rights and war reparations in this order. It's very important. Otherwise it bugs out and you cannot get everything. Now, after the war, we have some adjustments to make. First thing we want to do is we want to send our army and our navy back. Then we want to stop importing aluminum because we will not need it anymore. We don't want to import anything at all, actually. We want to increase the production of trucks to 5, the production of artillery to 8, And the production of support equipment also to 8. We're also going to use our army experience to adjust our templates. Let's start with the main template. This is our main infantry, and we're going to transform this into my usual offensive army division. And we're going to change 3 battalions of infantry into artillery. Now, this is much cheaper rather than adding a new artillery battalion. And in this way, we also get rid of 3 infantry battalions, which is what we want. We want to have a combat width of 27. And then we're also going to give them some support artillery and some logistics company. This is not mandatory, but if you want, you can also change the engineer company on Marines to pioneers instead. And you can also add a support artillery to them. I usually do it. It's another 20 army experience. It's not cheap, but in my opinion, it's worth it. Technically, you could send volunteers back to Spain once more, but we're going to start a war against China fairly soon, so I don't think it's worth it. At 50 political power, we're going to pick ground support. And we're also going to start sending our troops to China. I usually send just my main division, my main defensive army, and the cavalry. You could send also the tanks and motorized, because we're not going to use them anyway. We also want to do something in terms of buildings. We want to build military factories in the 100% provinces, and we also want to build infrastructures plus military factories in the 80% provinces. As soon as we finish the Marco Polo Bridge incident focus, we're going to declare war to China. Perfect timing. We also want... Oh, perfect timing, but not perfect the fact that the agent was captured. This will slow us down a little bit. That's a bit of RNG. It may happen. We're going to start spying in China again, and we're going to have to free this agent before we can prepare the last collaboration government. In any case, focus is done, so let's declare war to China. And immediately we're going to escalate the war in China. We're going to pick this decision right here. We also want to pick the air spirits at this point. This one and the other one, we don't have enough air experience yet, so hopefully a bit later. Now let's remember to assign all of our planes to China at this point. We send them all here to the airport that we built. And then we are also going to increase the production, the support equipment to 10 and the artillery also to 10. Okay, the air experience goes up very quickly after the war with China, so you can quickly pick centralized control. Now, as soon as I start getting my defensive divisions, I take that as a sign that it's time to escalate the war in China once more, and it's also time to start planning a naval invasion of China. An army of 15, put all of the marines you have in there, and we're going to start the invasion from Nagasaki. We're going to send marines to Qingdao, another 5 here, and the remaining 5 here. We're also going to start recruiting another offensive army of 24 and another defensive army of 24. If you get 3 military factories at this point, I suggest you assign 15 to guns and everything else to artillery. So future factories all to artillery. Okay, our naval invasion is ready. We are going to start it right away. We can escalate the war once again. Let's do it. Whenever possible, I suggest you pick another doctrine for marines. I prefer this one. Naval invasion in China is usually very easy. At this point, I usually exchange the divisions in order to have all of my offensive divisions here in the main army in China and the marines in a separate army. The first goal is to take these 2 hubs for supplies here and here. So we want to do something like this. And we can also send them the defensive army here in China to support their offensive. I wouldn't stop training them though. Whenever you can form the raiding regiments. At this point you can also add a few more marines to recruitment. We got a very nice encirclement here. Of course, against China, if you can get encirclements, it's going to make things much easier. Because they have a lot of divisions, but they don't have good divisions. This is not mandatory. We were lucky here. Let's escalate the war in China again. Okay, let's spy China again. At this point, if you were luckier than me with your spies, you can probably start preparing the last collaboration government. Just one important thing, don't spy them in Beijing anymore, because we're going to take this area soon, so start spying them in here instead. Okay, when you get this message from the United States, this is a very good message. We're going to fight them, we don't care, we're not going to be at war with them, and we get 100 political power. This is a very convenient 100 political power, which we are going to invest right away into the infantry expert here, Yasuji Okamura. Okay, we can escalate the war in China again. And now, as soon as possible, we can also get Ichigo for an extra bonus against China. But we can start planning the offensive for Beijing with our main army here. Now, it's very important, once again, that we get this supply hub here. And then we want to cut off completely the troops in Beijing. So we want to do something like this. Okay, we got the encirclement. This was the main objective. Okay, we can also take Ichigo. I would say that's a good choice at this point. We can get our third collaboration government in China. At this point, it may be better to start the offensive for Beijing. There we go. A lot of divisions lost for China. Okay, now that Beijing is taken, we can start planning another offensive with our infantry divisions. This time we are going to assign them on this front here. And we are going to try to get this supply hub here. And then we are going to try to get Nanjing. But actually at the same time, we're also going to start planning a naval invasion. We're going to use these divisions for that. This time we go to Shanghai with 5 divisions and then another 5 here and another 5 here. Okay, now I got my plane designer, and this one is quite important. So what I suggest is something like this. As soon as the naval invasion is ready, I would start the naval invasion, and then I would also start the other land offensive in this area. By the way, look at the casualties meanwhile, guys. 12,000 for us and 400,000 for China. Not bad. We got another nice encirclement here. Now, at this point, you could start the last offensive and try to take these 2 cities, and it should end the war. As we get to 100 political power, we can pick the military theorist. And we can start finally picking our doctrines. Of course, we are going to go for superior firepower. That's why we invested so much in the artillery. But before getting the other doctrines, we're also going to get smoke and fire and select suppressive barrage as our favorite tactic. Now, if you have any points left, you can continue expanding the doctrines. Of course, our goal is to get to this one as fast as possible. These 2 are insanely strong. Okay, now, if you have anything at 100% at this point, use your military factories or invest in military factories in that region. That includes your puppets as well. Sometimes it happens, but this is not the case. And after that, we're going to get infrastructures and military factories in Tohoku and in Shikoku. And if we can, and that's the case now, we are also going to recruit more Marines. If everything is correct, China should immediately go down as soon as we get the collaboration government. That's the case. Okay, so that's perfect. We got China. Now, of course, if you don't have access to spies, this strategy is still viable, but you need to conquer a lot more of China before you can actually end the war. Now, in terms of China, some people suggest annexing it, but as usual, I will use my common strategy of puppeting China, war reparations, resource rights, and a fleet. So now we have a giant puppet here, which will give us a lot of resources, factories, everything. That's amazing. So China is down. Now, what do we do? Now, the first thing we're going to do at this point is we are going to send our armies to the Netherlands. The first army will be ready at the border with Belgium. We are going to use them to invade Belgium. So our second offensive army, not entirely complete yet, but it will be soon. We're going to send it at the border or to the border with Germany. And Marines, we're just going to send them around here. We're also going to send our defensive armies. In the end, it will be 3 of them, but for now, we only have 2 available. We're sending both of them here. What we are leaving in Japan is only the cavalry and the tanks as well. Basically, everything else is going to the Netherlands. That includes the fleet. Going to do the same thing with planes as well. All of our planes are going to the Netherlands. And then we are going to start spying on Germany. Now, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but since I plan to attack Germany next, well, after World War II, I will already start spying on them. Okay, when you get free civilian factories, you want to start building infrastructures everywhere in the Netherlands. We're also going to start building air bases everywhere in the Netherlands, up to 10. We don't care that much at this point. And then, why not, also some military factories. Mind that it's only October 1938. We got plenty of time to prepare for the war. And we also already have 207 factories between civilian and military factories. And this is a huge amount of factories. This is much more than I get with Germany at this point of the game. Or Italy. We are going to get our first collaboration government in Germany. So at 150 political power, we are going to pick the elusive gentleman. And when we get our third spy, we're going to use it to spy on Germany. Okay, now around March 1939, we want to start fabricating a claim on Belgium. So this is one last recap for my templates. We're going to use these as our offensive template. And we're going to use this one as our defensive template. I believe at this point we have enough artillery to add an artillery support battalion to them as well. I think it's worth doing it. I didn't change anything about the other templates except for the Marines, which should have the Pioneers and should have the support artillery. I don't think there is any need to add anything else to these divisions. Oh yes, one more thing actually to do at this point. We have plenty of artillery, so we bring the production of artillery down to 10 and we put full production into guns for the time being. We're going to switch it later as soon as we get the planes, but for now we will invest in guns, not artillery. Okay, we got the engines tree, which means we can design the new fighters and casks, so let's do that. Okay, so for our F2 design, we're going for this one. I tested it in multiple runs and this design works amazingly. It's very good. We can also call it the Spitfire, as somebody suggested in the comments, because with two cannons, it really looks like the Spitfire. This is a very good design. And for what concerns casks, we're going to use this one. This design has decent ground attack, but especially it has very, very good air defense for a cask design. We're going to bring the production of guns down to 15, the production of support equipment down to 5. We're going to increase the production of C2 to 15, and then everything else is going into our F2. And with future military factories, I suggest you upgrade the hubs in the Netherlands if you can. At 100 political power, we are going to pick the logistics expert. We can also add military factories to all of our 100% provinces, which will be most of Japan. Around this point of the game, I picked the air production focus. I think it's pretty beneficial because we're going to build a lot of fighters and casks in this part of the game. And this is an eternal focus. It's a continuous focus. Now, at some point, you want to stop researching air production or focusing on air production, and you want to go down to jet prototypes to unlock the jet technology. Another interesting option is you can go down to expand the SNLF to get more special forces, even more Marines. So these are some of the options for later on. You can find them in the description of the video. But for the rest of the guide, I think I'm going to stick to air production. Now, we got our claim on Belgium, but we are not going to declare war to Belgium just yet. We want to wait for World War II to start. If you declare war to Belgium now, you can conquer Belgium, which you might say it's beneficial. But they will not join the Allies, so you will not be at war with the Allies. And actually, when we declare war to Belgium, we want to be at war with the Allies, so that after Belgium, we directly go into France, and then we take the United Kingdom. We are just in time to pick the last of our advisors. We are going to go for tactical bombing. This is also a good time to make sure that we deployed all of our planes. Make sure that they are all assigned to a mission. You can train all of them if you want, and then I would also assign all of them to our primary army, the one that is going to push into Belgium. The German Reich declared war on Poland, which means World War II is now officially on. And it's going to be on for us too, from the very beginning. I would suggest making a save, as usual, when a big event is happening. Okay, so we can declare war to Belgium. We need to call the Netherlands into it. And we can start our offensive against Belgium. Now, we need to stop the offensive. We need to make sure, before we take Belgium, that they join the Allies. If they don't join the Allies, we need to wait a little longer before we capitulate them. Okay, Belgium joined the Allies. Just make sure you get this message before you finish them. And now we can continue with our offensive. and end Belgium. Belgium is down. It's time for France, and it's also time to justify on Spain. Okay, France should go down as usual. That's it. France is done. Now, of course, we need to get ready for Spain. I'm going to use both of the offensive armies for Spain, and we're also going to justify on Portugal. Now, technically, you could justify on other countries and add them into the war, but I prefer to do that later when I declare war to the German Reich, because we are going to have 100% of the war score when we fight Germany. Well, in this case, we are going to share it with Germany, and yeah, it's already not that good, our war score. We aim to around 50% by the end of the war. By the way, at this point, we want to assign many of our fighters. I want about 1,000 fighters to be in the English Channel and in southern England to destroy enemy planes. We want to destroy as many enemy planes as possible to increase our war score. The cast can all be with our main army. Also, let's start the war against Spain. At this point, we can also start planning the naval invasion of the UK with our marines. I would go from Dunkirk, 5 to Dover, 5 to Portsmouth, 3 here and 2 here. Time to bring Portugal into this war. Now, something that is quite important, not mandatory, but it's better in my opinion to capitulate Portugal before you capitulate Spain. And that's because Spain is not in the war against the Allies. Spain is in a separate war. If you capitulate Spain first, you will get the peace conference, but they will not be at war with Portugal, which means you need to call them into that war. You may have to share some of the war score with them, which is very annoying. It's very easy to take Portugal first. You just go from the north. So I don't see any reason not to do that. Okay, Portugal is done. And Spain is done as well. As you can see, it was a separate peace conference, usual stuff, puppet, resource rights, war operations, navy. Okay, one last thing to do, which is to take the UK. Let's see if our naval invasion is ready. Our naval invasion is indeed ready. That's very good. Now, let's also check the planes, guys. We left our planes here for a while, so it's time to see the stats. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about when I say that that design for World War II is really good. Look at our fighters lost, 121. Keep in mind that we had F1 fighters in here as well. We had the old ones as well. And then 783, almost 800 fighters destroyed on the enemy side. Our F2 fighters are insanely good, and this proves it. And I believe we can start our naval invasion. Very easy to get the naval superiority with Japan, because we actually have a very good fleet. I feel like the UK is not defending at all this time. Yeah, that seems to be the case. Not very good, UK, not very good. Need to use the Marines to take this part, and we're going to send our main offensive army in the UK as well to take basically everything else. Now, extending the war is not the best for us, although if the UK sent some divisions, that would be better, because fighting increases our war score. On the other hand, we don't have any active fronts, while Germany and Italy are probably fighting in Africa, so they get some extra war score we are not getting. I have the feeling they have a lot of divisions in here, which would be nice. And these are definitely a lot of divisions. At this point, I'm also adding rocket artillery to our offensive divisions. And I increased the production. We have an insane amount of military factories, but I dedicated quite a lot of them to rocket artillery. The war is basically over, so let's make sure that we are satisfied with the war score. That's exactly what we wanted, around 50%, as I said, so we can finish this war. By the way, the stats are of course insane. 12,000 casualties, it's nothing. The amount of enemy planes we destroyed is also insane. That's why I say that I feel like Japan is even more powerful than Germany at this point in World War II. At this point of the game, I usually save, just in case I fuck up something in the peace conference. I don't want to play the whole war again, so I suggest doing so. The war is done. We got exactly 50% as expected. No casualties, and this was absolutely amazing. Now in the peace conference, what I suggest prioritizing is puppeting all of France, Belgium, and the United Kingdom. You should be able to also puppet Portugal. And then, very important, try to get these very resource-rich regions down here. You can also try to get this part here and part of India. That should be about it. The rest will go to either Italy and or the German Reich, and we will get them in the next war. Yeah, I would also suggest taking Suez and Gibraltar. This is quite important. Now, another thing I suggest doing before ending the peace conference is make sure that there is nothing left of the UK unclaimed, like in this case. It's better to have the UK disappear completely after the war. So if Germany and Italy forgot something, take that. Same thing for France. I would keep some points to take the navy of the UK. As much of it as possible, at least. Okay, I'd say we're pretty happy with what we got, in addition to a huge amount of resources. Let's see if we can see them from here. Yeah, a huge amount of resources and strategic places like Suez, like Gibraltar. We got Spain, Portugal, France, the UK, and the Netherlands and Belgium, of course. Now, our next challenge is to fight the German Reich. We already prepared 2 collaboration governments, and the next one is on its way. So actually we're going to start this war almost right away, but this tutorial was already quite long. Also, if you want to do something different from this point on, you're absolutely free to do it. I would say that we made Japan insanely powerful, and we're ready to make it even more powerful. If you enjoyed this guide, guys, as always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments. A lot of work goes into these guides, so it's great to see that you appreciate it and that you enjoy them. Other than that, I will definitely continue this run, so that will be a next chapter, Japan versus the German Reich, then probably one against the Soviet Union, and the final chapter for the revenge of Japan against the United States. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.